So again, good morning to everybody that's just joined the call, and welcome again to the velos-IT webinar QlikView on QlikView Business Intelligence for JD Edwards. I think we've just about got everybody that was meant to be coming onto the call, and I'm assuming that everybody can hear me okay. Rather difficult to check. I can't ask you to raise your hand if you can't hear me. It's one of these sort of silly jokes that you go through. So anyway, if you while we are just giving another couple of people another few minutes to go on, as we're going through the webinar, if you've got any questions, then just please type them into. There should be a question box in the GoToWebinar box at the side of your screen, hopefully on the right-hand side of the screen. So as we're going through, if you've got any questions, type them in there, and we'll review them towards the end, and hopefully, time allowing, we'll get to answering some of those questions. Okay, so we'll just start. Today's agenda is going to be covered by myself, Alan Kerr. I'm the Commercial Director for velos-IT, and also presenting with me will be Mark Cox, who's one of our Senior Business Intelligence Consultants. Given the time constraints of this webinar, we're going to try and keep it to about 40-45 minutes. We obviously can't go into the detail of QlikView, but we'd be happy to do that on a one-to-one basis after this event. We actually went on Wednesday to a major UK distributor and discussing QlikView, and the meeting in that session lasted 3 hours, which is obviously not possible to achieve that today. But we will, and we're open for covering one-to-one sessions later on. For today's agenda, I'm going to start by giving an overview of how the market sees QlikView and give that a bit of discussion time, a couple of slides on that. Then we're going to talk about typical and specific JD Edwards issues in reference to business intelligence. We're then going to run a number of demos showing the load of a large GL table into QlikView from JD Edwards. Then Mark will he'll run that demo. He'll also run from scratch and create an age debtors report in JD Edwards. And then I'll run a couple of generic QlikView applications that highlight, hopefully, the power of the tool. We'll then summarize the benefits of QlikView and finish off with a Q&A session. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, if you've got any questions, please type them in at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So, if we start looking at what the market says about QlikView, these three companies, Gartner, Aberdeen Group, and the BARC, are all independent views from a variety of well-known research consultancies. For the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which hopefully you'll know, most of you will know about, on QlikView, it actually says, I know it's an awful small screen, but hopefully you can see it okay. It actually references it as QlikTech, which is the company, QlikView being the tool. They're actually showing that as the fastest moving BI tool up into the right-hand corner, which is the Magic Quadrant. All of these surveys highlight that QlikView is the easiest, or one of the easiest to implement in the marketplace. It also emphasizes the speed of delivery of the application. Mark and myself were at a QlikView conference earlier this week down in London, and there was the business information manager or director for Devon and Cornwall Police was there, and he talked about from the day they installed the software, he had his first QlikView application up, running, and implemented with the business in 5 days. So that just gives an example of how quickly QlikView can be implemented. It's also easy to use. These groups emphasize that from an end user perspective, and it's got the highest return, or one of the highest returns on investment and lowest total cost of ownership of any of the tools that are available in the market today. Some of you that know me may be aware that in my previous roles I was the CIO of a multinational telecoms company, and I was the European IT Director for the cellular division of Motorola. So I've been on your side of the IT table, so to speak, and and I'm well used to the problems of implementing strong business intelligence solutions. This slide here is just looking at normal, typical BI issues. So BI solutions invariably end up as static reports, repositories, which have got a reasonably major dependency on IT to support them. Companies normally have a significant investment in their existing reports, and they don't necessarily or really want to throw that investment away. If you then start to look at implementing a new BI project, invariably they're high-cost projects. So you've really got to think long and hard about it and go through some pretty major justifications on them. When you then combine that with, traditionally, the business don't have a strong business case for a BI solution, so it's difficult to deliver against that. And then you get to the more technical issues of batch loads are hard to implement. The data takes time to get loaded in because of the sheer size of it. And then the point I've just missed just above that, end users don't really find it a flexible tool, and there's a large dependency on IT. So traditionally, in my experience, is that BI projects tend to be the #1 failed IT project from a delivery perspective. If we then look at JDE from our business intelligence from a JD Edwards perspective, probably like most other big ERP applications, there's lots of complexities in there. There's volume issues. Most of the JD Edwards systems that we support have got over 3,000 tables in them, over 120,000 columns, and multiple years of data in there. The JD Edwards and possibly most ERP implementations, people are reluctant to archive data. So lots of data, lots of tables, lots of columns. If you then add on to that customization issues, I don't think we've got a company that we support on JD Edwards where they haven't customized the JD Edwards application in some form. And then you actually then look at it from a data structures point of view. Then, within JD Edwards, the descriptions of the tables and the fields aren't particularly helpful. Formats of dates and numbers within the tables are complex as well, and are not easy to be understood from a user perspective. Okay, so how do velos-IT and QlikView address these issues? Well, working with QlikView, we've identified them, as have most of the survey companies and consultancies, as one of the market leaders. So what we're bringing here is the QlikView latest technology. They were the first in the market within memory for business intelligence, which really gives you fast response times. And we'll actually demonstrate later on the data compression capability of QlikView, which actually allows it to run in memory. Mark will do that shortly. The technology also removes the need for time-consuming and complex ETL activities. I've mentioned QVDs and QVWs in there. We don't really have time to go into that technology today, but as I've said, we can cover that in one-to-one sessions later on. Hopefully you'll see as we go through the developments that are the demos that we are developing apps rather than reports. And we'll also demo the speed of that you can develop at and show how quickly you can load data into QlikView, which really gives you, at the end, a true end-user tool. And then finally, the coexistent modular approach. As we said earlier, most companies will have some kind of reporting repository. We're not suggesting you throw that away. QlikView will coexist with most other reporting technologies. And the licensing module, our model, allows you, it's very modular, and allows you to implement QlikView, let's say, into a department, small department, try it out, and grow it from there. So it's a flexible approach from that point of view. Okay. With regards to the specific JDE business intelligence issues, velos-IT bring JD Edwards experience that we've got from our managed service customer base. And based on that, we've also developed an automated script which loads JD Edwards straight into QlikView, literally straight out of the box. So this automated load includes the issues that we discussed previously, which are customizations. It also brings in field-level security from your JD Edwards system straight into QlikView as well. And it'll also translate your dates and numbers into more straightforward user terminology that the end users can then do their own reporting on. So from starting to install QlikView software, you can have your JD Edwards data up and fully loaded into QlikView within 24 hours. So that then starts to go back to the guy from Devon in Cornwall where he said, you know, he had his first app up and running within 5 days. So before we start the demos, I just need to cover one point on how QlikView actually works. As we're doing these demos, and as Mark and myself are running through them, as we select information, you'll see that the data we've selected turns green. Any data that is associated with that green selection will turn white, and any data that is not associated with it will turn grey. It still shows the grey data, which is quite important, and this is what QlikView referred to as their associative analysis. Showing the grey data can be really helpful in that, let's say, for example, you're reviewing product sales by salesmen. Traditionally, you do put in your request to show what your salesman's performance has been, and you can see what they're selling. But possibly more important, what you want to be able to see is what they're not selling. And this is where the grey starts to come in. Even although you didn't ask the question, you can actually see what they're not selling, which then leads you on to another question. Why is he not selling it? So you start to drill down into the system by doing that. So we're now going to move into the and that's the opportunity in there. So we're now going to move into the demos. Mark's going to demo loading a JD Edwards GL table into QlikView, which will highlight the data compression and speed that we achieve. He'll then create a basic JD Edwards age debtors report, and he'll do that from scratch. And again, hopefully we'll be able to show the speed and ease that can be done by or in. It's not, given the time constraints, it's not a complex report, it's fairly basic, but hopefully it will demo what we're capable of. And then, time allowing, I'll do a couple of generic, show a couple of generic QlikView apps, which should highlight what's achievable from QlikView. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Mark.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning, everyone. As Alan said, my name is Mark Cox. I'm a database and BI specialist with Velos. Just a little bit of my background. I've been working with databases and BI technologies for 15 years now. The first 8 years was as a kind of hardcore BI developer, and latterly in the last 7 years as a DBA and BI specialist. A rather sad statistic we kind of found during various kind of company audits is I've been involved in BI systems where I've written something in the region of 150,000 lines of code to load BI systems. So I've been around the block and pretty much felt every pain that your average BI developer can feel. Also, from a tools perspective, I've used most of the tools in the marketplace to adapt to varying levels, including MicroStrategy, Cognos, Business Objects, BrioQuery, Hyperion, and now QlikView. I had my first experience with QlikView about 6 months ago, and I have to say I was absolutely blown away with the capabilities the tool has in terms of being able to extract data out of systems and very quickly and to create very simple and powerful reports. I've been on the training down at QlikView's training office. It's a 5-day training course which covers the data extraction and also the basic reporting. Just to give you an idea, the extraction course lasts for 2 days, and it's pretty much attended by kind of data-aware business specialists as well as DBAs. And the other part of the training is what they call the designer role, which is allowing people to create reports from scratch. And the there was a really kind of varied spread of people on that course, from, again, DBAs and developers right through to financial directors. So it gives you a feeling for how flexible and easy the tool is to use. If a financial director is able to go on that course, they're not typically the most IT literate people. There's three things I want to cover in the QlikView demo today. The first one is, as Alan said, the speed to extract data from the system. Give you an indication of how it's able to compress data and store it, making it to get fast access to the data and keep more information online. And also give you a demonstration of the tool that we've developed, which is there to pull the data out of JDE quickly. I'm just going to open up the session to our database here. Just to give you an idea of the hardware we're using today, it's just a bog standard laptop that would be given to pretty much any employee in an organisation. It's not particularly powerful, so it's certainly not as fast as some enterprise systems you would have. The table that we're going to be loading is the central general ledger table in JDE, the F0911. I've got 2 companies worth of data for 2 years for the AA ledger. There's just over 1 million records in there. There's 104 columns in the table, and if I just show you this here, you can see the table itself is 1.8 gig in size, and as you can see, there's a whole list of columns in there. As it is with JDE, these fields aren't particularly friendly for reporting. It's not easy to determine what they're for, how you join them to other tables. So when you're embarking on a BI project, there's a lengthy first phase where you're going and trying to figure out how you join the tables together and how you can actually present the fields and the business columns out to end users and reports. Just to give you an idea, the last BI project I was involved in, there was 4 weeks of the last JDE BI project I was involved in. There was 4 weeks of development before we were able to produce a report. It was a modelling exercise and an analysis exercise. I'm hoping to show you something here in 5 minutes. So I'm just going to kick off the tool that we've created in this environment. I've only got a kind of script available, but it just asks you some basic questions about the environment. And say the table we're interested in here is the F0911. What this does is go and inquire on the internal data dictionary in JDE and uses all that information to build the script which QlikView can then use. It doesn't only just build the script, it also pulls out all the mappings of fields to the business definitions, which would allow an end user or developer to then kind of figure out what fields they should be using to get access to data. So there's just a little bit of copying and pasting. Excuse me. Yeah, I just need to run that again. Try not to close it this time. Better. Just going to throw this into Notepad. There's a wee bit of copying and pasting here, but obviously something that takes 2 minutes is better than something that takes days or weeks to do. There's some basic information in this, but the important part here is taking all the database or application column names and giving their business description, which is something that then makes sense to an end user. Again, when someone's using the application, in the JDE application, and they look at the fields, these are the descriptions that are typically available in the forms and in the reports. So if they're used to looking at reports that they printed or had from JDE, they'll be used to the terms that then get shown in the QlikView report here. So there's some information at the top there, and then there's the automatically generated script, which goes through the formatting of the fields. For example, here you're converting the complex JDE date or proprietary JDE date format into a date which makes sense in a normal tool. And also here, for example, the amounts in JD Edwards are stored in the database without decimal places to allow for countries that have no decimal places to use the system. So there's quite a lot of code in here, so the simplest thing I can do here is just copy it straight into QlikView. And I've just got a client sitting here. I'll create a new report, and I'll open up the script editor. First thing to do here is initiate a connection to the local database I have here, which has all the data in it. There we go, and I'm just going to paste the script in. There's no more editing up to it at all, other than just to trim out the bottom and top there. And what I'll do is just save that off. And we're ready to go. At this point, it's now 10:22, and if this connects okay, which it has, I'm just going to briefly hand back to Alan, because we are extracting from a laptop. There's a million records, and it will take 2 minutes to complete.
Okay, so what I thought I would just do while we were talking through that, or while that's running, is just give you a quick overview of QlikView and their background. Founded in 1993, and originally in Sweden, they now see themselves as a Swedish-American company. And you can actually see certainly most of the names on the right-hand side of this chart you should recognize, and they're just some of the customers that they're actually working with today. And currently 19,000 customers with 570,000 users in 100 countries around the world, with 1,000 employees, and many of whom we were working with. And we were actually at a seminar or a conference earlier on this week where a large portion of the UK QlikView employees or QlikTech employees were there. So that's just a quick overview of QlikView. We're going to now just do a quick jump to a brief overview. For those of you that don't know velos-IT, this is just to give you an idea of the kind of customers that we're dealing with. Obviously, a bit of a focus on the left-hand side of the screen on councils, local authorities, but to give you an idea of some of the other bigger companies in there, you might not recognize the names, you will recognize the brands. For example, C&C Group, who we provide virtually all of their IT support to. C&C Group own Magner Cider, Gamer Cider, Tennent's Caledonian Breweries. Wolseley, who we provide support to, are the Bath Centre, the Brain Centre, the Plum Centre for any DIY people out there. And maybe just to pick another one is Element 6, who are part of the De Beer Diamond Company. So again, you know, just a fairly good blue chip customer base. And again, just very quickly on some numbers for velos-IT, to give you an idea again for those of you that don't know us. 85 permanent employees currently, growing at something like 25 to 30% per annum for the last couple of years. We currently in the JD Edwards space support over 40,000 users, and we handle about 100,000 tickets a year. One of the stats on there that we're very proud of is we have a focus on managed service, and for the 8 years, almost 8 years that we've been in operation, we've got 100% customer retention, and a big focus on process and control, as you can see from the ISO certification that we've got at the bottom. Right, so now going to just jump back, and hopefully Mark's 2 minutes have completed, and the load should be well on its way.
Yes, it has. So as you can see in the summary section here, it started at 10:23, and 2.5 minutes later, we've fetched out just over 1 million records from the GL, and it's now sitting in memory in this QlikView client on the desktop. Just to demonstrate what's actually running on the PC now, and to show the compression in memory that the tool has, you can see that there's a QlikView process running there. I'll just go back in time. I should have a couple here. One of these is the demo that Alan's going to show later. But just over our 1.8 GB of data in an Oracle table is now sitting in memory on my laptop in 200 meg. So I guess the question is, as far as developing this report, how quickly can we get the data out? Well, we have data after just over 2 minutes. And what size will it be? It's sitting at 200 meg in memory, and what I can do actually is just save the file off to show you what it's like when it's actually written to disk. Just finished now. and we can see here the file here compresses down even further to only 26 meg. Next thing to do is really just to create a really simple report. I mean, as I say, there was a 3-day training course on how to get the best out of the tool from a reporting perspective. All I want to demonstrate here now is just how quickly we can pull something together. So a simple period movement report by object account is a typical kind of finance report that people love, just thrown into Excel or just mining around in. It's a fairly operational report, but I guess if you're used to using JDE, looking across an entire year's worth of financial data for a company can be quite an onerous task. So first thing I'm going to do here is just put a few objects onto this dashboard just to make it easy to go and filter data. First thing is a multi-box. What this is just a simple kind of container where you put fields in that allows you to apply filters. So I'll start off with the company number, and we'll add the fiscal year and just wind that back. We'll just kick off. I'm just trying to quickly build this. Okay, so just click OK to that. So here what we have now is just a little drop-down list that's got the various bits of data that's available, company codes, and a big long list of object accounts. What you can do to help you, to help show you what you have selected or filtered in the report, you have this concept of a current selections box, which when you have selected something, it will display in here. So if I want to drill into one company here, it says I've now got company 105 selected. So next thing to do is just to create a simple pivot table. I've gone here, simple pivot. Just put the object account on first. And sorry, so in terms of these are the dimensions, so these are like the attributes being, again, fiscal year, object account, and company number. What I then want to do is put a measure onto the report, which is something I want to total, or a number I want to look at, which in this case is the GL amount. So that's stored as a different field, and we've already applied a formatting to it. In this case, we'll just add an alias there. What you're going through here effectively is a wizard to go and create the pivot table, so it gives you a whole raft of options, most of which aren't required, and you would typically just quickly run through the wizard with a view to go back and tailoring the chart once you've built it. Fairly well. So dead simple little pivot. The first thing we can do is go back on here and maybe add some more attributes that would be useful. In this case, it would be fiscal period. And fiscal year, I guess. And the last thing here we do is just go back here and request that we put in some totals at each level on the report. So I'm flicking through this, but as you might imagine, it's a several-day training course to go through this, so I'm just trying to quickly show you how we can get a pivot table thrown together. Okay, so what we'll do is look at one company here and then focus on a single year. There we go. So not the most beautiful thing in the world by any means, but it has every object account across the whole year, and this is at transaction level. So if you did want to go on here and drill into individual lines, you can add that on to the report. So it's a very, very basic report, but if you can imagine, it's actually sitting with over 1 million records in memory, and all my filtering here is working instantly. I can add things in, I can drill, I can do whatever I want to do there. So say very, very, very simple, but it's more just demonstrating the volume that we're working with. The last thing, just to demonstrate the speed of the tool, I'll just close this, no need to save it. I'm just going to create a new report here, and instead of going straight to the database, Alan touched very briefly on the concept of a QVW and a QVD. A QVD is in essence a compressed proprietary data file that QlikView uses, so it would take data from your source system and store it in its own format. That makes it much easier to get access to. So I'm just going to create a new report, which we'll go and pick up one I created earlier. And this is a dump of exactly the same inquiry that we just did, which is the 2 companies for 2 years. And I'm just going to open that in the tool. And that's it. So it creates all the mappings and all the fields for you automatically. And just click save that. Okay, and I'm just going to show you the speed at which it's able to extract the data. I just need to change the path to that file. Just bear with me 1 second, please. So you can see we've pulled in the 1,000,000 records instead of 2.5 minutes in the proprietary format where it's pre-tuned for QlikView. It reads it in 7 seconds. Just a very simple demo to show you the advantages the tool can have itself as well when you've already got the data tuned and ready for it. What you would typically do is create all these data files that our end user or report developers can then go and pull out themselves. So you've pre-formatted the data, pre-compressed it, and they can just use them as required to develop reports. I've got another very, very simple report to show you. This is more just around I've done a little bit of pre-formatting of the data here. It's a simple AR open an open date report. And what we have in this case is a pre-formatted query, which is using an existing QVD. We've also performed some of the basic calendar transformations to allow you to take an invoice date and have a month you can use to summarize in the report, have a year that you can use. These are all kind of standard things that you cover in the designer course. So it's the type of thing that an FD who's may not be entirely IT literate would actually go through. So I'm just going to kick off that report. Finished. Just to show you how this hangs together, I'll just bring up the data model, which is very messy, but this gives you an indication of when you're using the accounts receivable ledger in JDE, which is a single table. You have all these different tables which have lookup information, being descriptions of a specific value, or further information to do with a customer, being their type and perhaps address information. So our tool builds all of these lookups for you. So you just point it at the main table and it suggests all the different lookups and can build them in automatically into the report. So you just run the script once and it gives you everything that you need to create a report. So again, very simple multi-box here. Again, we'll put in company number. Put an address. Again, one thing of what we've done in the report is we've taken the current date and the date that invoices are due, and we've they are, and then bucketed them into ranges of 1 to 31 days, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, etc. The purpose of that being is that from an accounts receivable perspective, the older your debt is, the less likely you are to recover it. So if someone had said to you, the business case for a report here is, we've got a cash flow problem, I need you to go and collect as much cash as you can, as quickly as you can, what you would do is target the debt that's most recent, because that is the stuff, statistically speaking, that you're more likely to be able to collect. So we'll start off here with again, a very basic list box, and we'll add a current selections box. There's a filter already saved from last time the report was used, so we can remove that. And we just want to create a really simple chart here. Which we want to look at the aging bucket and the sum of the open amount. An alias. We also want to control the sorting of the aging bucket. It's a simple bar chart we're looking to create. Again, we're walking through the remaining part of the wizard. Again, we can go back and change as much of this as we want later. I guess one of the key things from a currency perspective, obviously, is to get the decimal places on. There we go. Simple age data report. One small change I'm going to make, just because I need to go back and copy this later. So this is for two companies for the last 2 years, given that, or the invoices that are applicable within the last 2 years. If someone said, I want to go and find collect as much as I can, as quickly as I can, make focus on a specific company, and say, right, well, from an aging perspective, you can see all the current invoices are there. Obviously, we're not due to collect on them yet, so we'll just focus on the stuff that's due just now. And you can see there's 1 to 30, 31 to 60. There's a big, huge chunk here which is over 90 days. But the amounts are negative here, so that would suggest that, you know, it's some kind of credit invoice, or as it probably is in this case, it's unapplied cash. So I know naturally that it's RI invoices that I am able to collect again. You can see here straight away that I've got this stuff here I can go and focus on. That's great. That gives me my position that if I'm looking at something, I can go and probably collect the first 20,000 there within 1 to 30 days, but I can't really do much else with that. So what I'll very quickly do is turn that into a detailed report. Okay, let's clone that report, go into it, change it into a pivot table, and I want to go back, change it into pivot table. Probably add some more into it as well, actually, and we'll put on the customer, so it gives us someone to phone up, and add in the invoice numbers as well, which would be their reference, obviously. I want them to go in here, and I want to focus on the largest invoices. I'm trying to collect cash as quickly as I can, so it would make sense to focus on the largest invoices first. So I'll sort everything, sort the addresses and the invoice numbers by open amount, biggest first. And I also want to do totals, partial sums. I think at that point we're pretty much done. Again, because I've cloned this report, so I've taken the chart, copied it into Pivot, it inherits all the other properties as well. So I will change the font, because there's quite a lot of data on this, and that should be us. We're going to go to a simple pivot. As with the GL pivot, we're obviously looking to do a little bit of manipulation here. So I'll just change and put the aging up here. So what I have now is 2 reports on the one page. And I'll go back to my chart. So this gives me a position. I'm looking to collect stuff. I've already filtered it down to say I want things that are collectible, and I would be looking perhaps to just focus on what's collectible within the first 1 to 30 days. I just double click on my pivot now. That's all it shows. So I can look across these customers and look for things to go collect and improve my cash position. So again, from pretty much nothing or just a little bit of pre-formatting, you've got a report which would be usable to help fix a business issue within 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks very much, Mark. From a timing point of view, we were going to show a demo in a movies database, which really highlights the green, white, grey associative stuff that I talked about before. But really, just from a timing point of view, I don't think we've really got enough time to go into that. So what I really thought we would just do just now is, Mark was showing you some basic, simple, straightforward stuff there and how quickly it can be done. This QlikView application here was developed in about 2 weeks' time. And what I wanted to do is just quickly run through some of the features of this to show you, what can be done with a bit more effort around QlikView. Obviously, this is in a hospital, patient records, etc. So we're not, the data has been certainly ripped down and cut, and it's a very quiet hospital in that you can see that there's only 16 patients in the actual hospital. You can go into QlikView in this fashion, which is a site map, or you can go in as a patient list process, so you can actually see which patients are within the hospital, those 16 patients. I can then click on, let's say, a certain consultant and decide which consultant, or go and look at which ward. And you can see I've drilled down into, here's the ward. So I've now highlighted Edmondstone as the green ward. These consultants all have patients in that ward, and these are the specialities. So that's green, that's white, but these ones have been greyed out because they're no longer relevant. If I then start to drill down a wee bit more and I look at, let's say, Kyla Roth here, she's actually, length of stay was 408 days. I think the comment we've had before, that red dot is actually reflecting that she's female. The comment has been that it could actually be reflecting the size of the bed sore that she's got, because she's been there for 408 days. But if we actually pick Emmy Ratcliffe, and if I'm a consultant, I've got this on my iPad, I'm wandering around the hospital, going to visit patients, I go in to see Emmy, and it shows me the patient records for her, and I can drill down and go, right, here's all the information I've got on Emmy, and as I say, this is all being done in QlikView. It's a combination of their general patient records, a combination of their systems from radiology, pathology, and from their accident and emergency system. So if I drill into the radiology side, I can see that Emmy has had a chest x-ray done. I'm thinking she's pretty well now, about to be let go home. So, sorry, go into that and look at the chest x-ray. It's on an iPad. I can zoom in this, check it, and actually confirm that Emmy's good to go and can let her go. All been done in QlikView. So again, and this was all developed within the space of 2 weeks. For those of you that are interested, we can go into that in a bit more detail at some point in the future. Okay. So if I now just quickly jump back to our PowerPoint, and we're just about done. Quick summary, QlikView and velos-IT benefits. Well, with QlikView, with velos-IT rather, you're going to get JD Edwards straight out of the box and implemented within hours rather than even days. The speed allows you to develop apps and moves apps into production, as the Devon and Cornwall police guy said, within 5 days of installation of the software. Hopefully hopefully you saw from the hospital one there and from a couple of things that Mark did, you tend to get applications instead of reports that allow the users to do their own thing. And although we didn't demonstrate it particularly well in there, with the associative model, what you get is you ask questions, the system gives you an answer. But then there's the grayed out bits that cause you, that are not associated, which cause you to raise another question. You drill in, you get another answer, and so on. Users absolutely love it, which was confirmed by the Gartner, Aberdeen, and BARC reviews. And it basically gives fast return on investment and low total cost of ownership. Most of the, we actually, I know a senior partner for a large BI consultancy. They're not looking at QlikView because most of their revenue comes from the consultancy that they sell on the back of BI tools. They don't believe they'll sell very much consultancy on the back of QlikView and are therefore not pushing it as a product. That's good for them. Our opinion is it's not good for you. And then basically with velos-IT, you're getting the core JD Edwards application experience certainly up front with ourselves. Okay, so I think we're done now. So if we move on to questions. Sorry, not quite done yet. Where's my question page? There we go. Basically the next steps are, this webinar has been an appetizer. There's obviously a lot more detail that we can talk about on the QlikView architecture and how it works, and I'll refer back to the customer visit we had the other day there of over 3 hours. So we're very happy to do further discussions and one-to-one meetings. If you are interested in it, there's a QlikView Personal Edition though, that's available via the web that you can download and do virtually everything that Mark has already shown. Obviously there's some restrictions and the flexibility of it, but it will give you a very large or a good view of what's achievable. And then also the other thing we can do working with QlikView is we can come on site and do a seeing is believing for those customers, where there's a definite interest, which is really a 1-day or a 2-day proof of concept where we'll come on site and using your data, we will actually demonstrate the success of QlikView and how quickly it can be implemented for yourself. So, from a Q&A point of view, we've got a couple of questions in here. How long does it take to train up on the QlikView tools? Well, actually, I'll take that one. Mark has actually been in all of the training, and it was 5 days in total, which basically consists of the designer training and the developer training. Okay with that one? Another one was, I'll maybe get Mark to answer this one, was what tool created the script? And that would be the script that we use to load the JD Edwards GL data into QlikView.
Yep, that's an internal, that's a script or a tool that we wrote ourselves, which inquires on the existing JD metadata about what's actually in the application, and it just spits out the script that you copy into the tool. If anyone would like a copy of that, the output of that, we certainly can send it over. And so it's very useful both from generating the script and also to help people map back. They say, well, what's that field in this report? What table does that map back to? By having the documentation at the top of the script, you're then able to have a discussion about where it maps back to in the core tables. It works, if you have any customizations in your JD implementation, like custom tables or anything, or you've added some columns in order for them to be visible within the application, they have to be registered in the JD Edwards Central Data Dictionary. And because we've been querying on that data dictionary, it's not just the standard columns that get outputted by our tool, it includes all your customizations. So there's no need to go, cutting the scripts to add in anything that's custom to you. Obviously, you might want to change the formatting of things a little bit, but the real time-consuming bit is taking the 100, 200 fields that are in your average table and putting them into business terms, that you can then use in a report.
Okay, we've got another one here. Can we have access to the slides, etc.? Should have put that as an answer right up there at the front. Absolutely. What we are actually doing is we're recording this webinar, and we'll be putting it up on our website, but we'll certainly send a copy of the slides to all the attendees. It's actually quite a large slide pack, so it might be better just to put it up on our website. What you'll find in the slide pack is there's about another 30 to 40 slides that are hidden, but these are the extra detail that we would normally go into in a one-to-one presentation. So we'll certainly make that available. And I think that was about it. So based on that, the one comment I would make is that doing webinars we've found are a wee bit dry in that it's all of a one-sided affair because of the number of people that are out there remotely connected to you. So apologies for that. Apologies. We try not to make it sound scripted, although obviously it is to an extent. But hopefully you got some useful information. And I'm sure, you know, if you've got interest in it, then please get back in touch with us. And hopefully we can help with any other questions that you've got. And other than that, we'll be in touch with you over the next coming weeks to see what level of interest you've got. So again, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you found it useful, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.